With the first pick in the 1984 NBA draft,
the Portland Trail Blazers select Charles Barkley of Auburn University.
Today, we're resetting the NBA to 1984 to see how all of history changes. All starting off with this year's draft, where Charles Barkley is going number 1 over Michael Jordan.
With the second pick, the Seattle Supersonics select Michael Jordan, University of North Carolina.
And as you can see, the draft has been completely re-randomized, with Jordan going to the West Coast suiting up for Seattle. As time moves on and we get closer to the modern day, we're going to see a bunch of legends suit up for different franchises. Jordan's a great example. Can he replicate the success he had in real life on a completely different team? When we finally make it all the way to the modern day, is he going to be seen as the GOAT? As time plays out, we'll get our answer. But for now, to keep the focus on the 1985 Rookie of the Year race, it would be an intense competition between Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and Hakeem Olajuwon, who's suiting up for the Warriors. All three of these players would average over 20 points per game in just their first year. But while it was Jordan who'd win the Rookie of the Year in real life, instead it would be Charles Barkley in this universe, bringing the trophy back to Portland. However, what all three have in common is that none of them are championship ready just yet, as the Los Angeles Lakers would win the 1985 title over their rival Boston Celtics. Magic Johnson would win Finals MVP, and this would be a good segue onto the 1986 season. And we first must start off with the rookies. With the number 1 pick, the Sacramento Kings select creepy Karl Malone. After missing out on Hakeem last year, the Rockets would make up for it somewhat by selecting Patrick Ewing at number 2. And interestingly, Dennis Rodman would be drafted to the New York Knicks, breaking up the bad boy Pistons before they even started. But to focus on the more important parts of the regular season, Jordan would be responding from his Rookie of the Year snub by winning the scoring title, approaching 30 points per game. However, his season as a whole would be seen as a roller coaster, as in the first round he would lose to Hakeem Olajuwon's Golden State Warriors in a best of 5. It's a bit of an anticlimactic ending for MJ, but in fairness to him, he would be far from Hakeem's only victim. The second round would see the defending champion Lakers up against the Golden State Warriors. Of course, they already have last year's Finals MVP, Magic Johnson, but Olajuwon would be going toe-to-toe with the legendary Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. However, with the odds clearly stacked against them, and the Warriors as severe underdogs, it wouldn't matter to the second-year Olajuwon, as he would defeat the defending champion Lakers in 6 games. Easily one of, if not the biggest upset ever in the history of the NBA to this point. And following up this crazy achievement, this Warrior team would go on to the finals in just Hakeem's second year, now facing the Washington Bullets. A solid team, but with no real star. And that's a long way of saying that if he can beat Magic and the Lakers, he can go on to win the whole thing. In just year number 2, Hakeem Olajuwon has won his first championship of what could be many. And if we had to rank him compared to his draft mates, he's easily number 1. However, starting in the 1987 season, it wouldn't be so clear, as MVP race would be between Hakeem's 2 draft mates. On one end, Michael Jordan would win his second straight scoring title, finally scoring over 30 points per game. The next highest would be Dominique Wilkins at 27, so there's a sizable gap there, ultimately making it a surprise that MJ would be the runner-up in the MVP race. Charles Barkley would finish the year averaging 26 points and 12 rebounds per game, leading the Portland Trail Blazers to the 4th seed compared to MJ's Sonics, who would finish in 6th. There could be a lot of debate as to who really deserved the MVP, but very shortly after, Barkley would put all of his doubters to rest, defeating the defending champion Warriors and Hakeem in just the second round. This would be as far as the Blazers would go in the postseason, as they would eventually lose in the Western Conference Finals to the eventual champion Lakers. However, don't be fooled from the lack of hair on Portland's star duo of Barkley and Drexler, as they're still a young duo with plenty of time to win a championship. However, the focus would soon turn away from Magic and Los Angeles onto New York. With the second pick in the 1987 draft, the Knicks would select Scottie Pippen, officially separating both he and Jordan on opposite conferences. But while on the surface this should hurt Jordan's title odds, he would have another strong season. For the second straight year, he'd be the MVP runner-up, and unlike previous postseasons, it would actually translate onto the playoffs despite being an underdog. The 6th-seeded Sonics would defeat Barkley's Blazers in round 1, the Mavericks in round 2, and in the conference finals, MJ would get the better of Magic, sending the Sonics to the final. Now facing the Boston Celtics, where Michael Jordan will cross paths with Larry Bird for the first time in both their careers. There would be extra on the line for both of these guys. After finishing as the runner-up, Jordan would be playing against the winner of the MVP award. And to start the series, it would be Jordan leading the Sonics to a 2-1 lead despite once again being the underdog. Larry Bird and the Celtics would respond with a gut punch to the Sonics in the following game, but Jordan would rebound with a 37-point performance to put the Sonics up 3-2, bringing the series back to Seattle, where he would play out the most important game of his life.
Here's Jordan from deep. 20 seconds to go in the quarter. Here's Jordan. Oh, what a move by Michael Jordan. And Seattle have won their first ever NBA championship.
And with Jordan playing his best ball right at the end en route to the Finals MVP, he's officially a few years ahead championship-wise compared to real life. This would not only put him on the fast track to GOAT status, but also could be inspiring the next generation of players. And right now, the NBA is definitely in a great place.
Coming to you live from Detroit, Michigan, Isaiah Thomas has informed the team that he will not be re-signing with the franchise, signing a 4-year deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. All eyes now shift towards Portland's new trio, one that many have created a new term for, the Big Three.
That's right, the 1989 season would kick off with a controversial free agent move. Between the 84 draft trio of MJ, Hakeem, and Barkley, Charles would be the only one without a ring, putting a negative spotlight on what's otherwise been a great career so far. As a result, the new Blazers' Big Three would both be super successful with the NBA's best record and equally as hated by the NBA's fans, with many truly disgusted at the idea of superstars teaming up, a rarity for this era as the first of its kind. On the opposite end of the spectrum, however, would be Michael Jordan. After building his team from the ground up to a title, he would keep his foot on the gas, winning both the league MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Reputation-wise, between him and Barkley, the two couldn't be seen more differently. However, while one would be seen as the people's champ,
And the Blazers win the series!
the other would be the actual one. This controversial Trailblazer team would win the 1989 championship by clobbering the Wizards. Charles Barkley would now be pairing his 1987 regular season MVP with the finals version of such award.
Chuck, what do you have to say to the critics who claim this championship was cheap or perhaps an easy way out?
You really think I give a flying what the people on the radio call say? Thank you.
Not only would the champs be seen as villains, but they'd lean into it. How could they not? Are they going to lose anytime soon? Michael Jordan would go back-to-back on the MVP and DPOY, but eventually he too would get swept by the Blazers, sending him home in Portland onto the finals against a very ironic opponent. One that would create the most hostile environment possible. There's an added twist considering the Pistons team from real life that won a championship no longer exists. And it would be very ironic that the leader of that team would eventually celebrate his second straight title shortly after. The Blazers dynasty is in full effect. Will there ever be a more potent team in the future? We'll have to see, but it appears as if the Blazers have broken the NBA for better or for worse. In the 1991 season, they'd set what's a new NBA record with 71 wins and just 11 losses. So it wouldn't come as a surprise that despite Michael Jordan winning his third MVP award, they'd sweep him for a second straight time, clearly establishing more dominance in the West as they go on to the finals versus a young New York Knicks team, featuring the likes of Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway Sr., and most importantly Scottie Pippen, who won the Defensive Player of the Year award. However, his individual prowess on that end wouldn't make up for the three-headed monster the Blazers had, only squeezing out one win before he and his team would eventually be defeated. The Blazers would now celebrate their third straight championship, with their eyes set on their fourth in the incoming 1992 season. However, before we get into that, for the second time we'd have a major free agent move shake up the league. In an effort to leave a stacked Western Conference, 1986 champion and three-time DPOY, Hakeem Olajuwon would go from Golden State to Washington, D.C., now as a member of the Bullets. Not only is it ironic because he defeated this team for his first ring, but it's also interesting considering this Bullets team made it, albeit lost, in the finals 3 times in the past 8 years. And they're now looking to Hakeem to be the final piece. However, in terms of being the best player in the league, that title would still go to Michael Jordan, who'd be winning his 4th MVP of his career. And for a third straight year, he would meet the Blazers in the Western Conference Finals in an effort to finally take them down. But unlike the last 2 years, certain things would be different, giving Seattle a slight edge. Seattle would be the higher seed, with Portland sort of hitting a lull for their standards, finishing 3rd in the West. These teams would only be separated by 5 wins, but that would give Seattle home court advantage, to which they'd use in Game 1 and Game 2 of the series, with Seattle winning both, a major step forward considering the last 2 years, which were sweeps. Which brings them back to Portland, where the wheels would quickly fall off for Barkley, Drexler, and Thomas. Game 3 would be another Jordan masterclass, and Game 4 would be even better, 43 points to clinch a trip to the finals. In his third try, MJ was able to take down the trio that won the last 3 rings, all while being the only All-Star on the Sonics. Which brings us on to the 1992 finals between the Sonics and Hakeem's Washington Bullets, where he's also the only All-Star in his team. However, MJ would average 34, 6, and 6 in the finals, rattling off 4 straight wins before Hakeem could even secure one. MJ's second championship would be coming in a sweep, combining for an 8-game win streak between Barkley and the Big Three plus Hakeem. And it's safe to say that right now, he's definitely peaking.
I made him before the draft, even before the lottery. He said, "You want to play where it's hot or where it's cold?" And I said, "Hot."
With the first pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Miami Heat selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
And with those shady draft practices aside, the 1993 season would kick off. And the number 1 pick from the 1992 draft, Shaquille O'Neal, would be making his long-awaited debut. When the likes of Jordan, Barkley, and Hakeem are done, Shaq's a great candidate to be the next face of the league. However, while that's good to mention now, we're still a few years away from it actually happening, and the focus would now be put back onto the Portland Trail Blazers, who would get back to their antics, returning to the finals to face the Knicks again. However, the combination of their loss to Jordan last year, plus the growth of Pippen, would make for a shocking start to the series. New York would go up 3-1, appearing to end the finals before it really got started, with fans nationwide celebrating the impending downfall of the Blazers dynasty. However, this would be a massive wake-up call to Charles Barkley in particular, who won the regular season MVP this year. He would lead the Blazers to Game 5 and Game 6 wins, inching closer to the NBA's first ever 3-1 comeback, now with all the momentum needed to pull out a Game 7 win. To which wouldn't happen. Thanks to the efforts of Scottie Pippen, the Knicks would be winning their first championship in a couple decades. However, while there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the Blazers due to the events of the past couple seasons, there's no doubt that otherwise, they were massively successful.
You're kind of between a rock and a hard place. You want to say it was a great year, but you feel so bad right now. It just didn't work out.
However, it would work out in the 1994 finals. The Blazers would make another appearance, promptly defeating the 76ers, who have Alonzo Mourning as well as Reggie Miller at the helm. No doubt, their formation of a Big Three through free agency was successful, and perhaps that style of team building will become popular. Any future free agent moves would be seen through the lens of the Blazers and what they did first, a trend that would now look towards Washington, D.C.
Breaking news, Michael Jordan's free agency has concluded with him in Washington, D.C. Two-time champion and 4-time MVP leaves Seattle after a very successful tenure with the franchise who drafted him in 1980.
And such, the NBA has now become a 2-team league between the OG Big Three in Portland and the Bullets' dynamic duo. It's a much different path for Jordan in this universe versus real life, going to a new team during his prime. But after winning 2 titles in Seattle, his reception would be much warmer than Portland's trio. But nonetheless, he went to Washington to win a title, and after a 62-win season, the Bullets would make it to their 5th finals in the past decade, looking for their first win of those appearances, with their eyes set on a victory versus Portland. All of Thomas, Hakeem, Drexler, Jordan, and Barkley would go into this matchup well aware that, well into their 30s, they may never be back. And that desperation would make for a thrilling series. The first 2 games would be won by MJ and Hakeem protecting home court, and the same could be said for Barkley and company back in Portland, tying it up 2-2. And this is where the series would really get interesting, as the same would happen in both games 5 and 6. Both teams would protect home court, sending the 1995 finals to a Game 7. With the trend of the series and the fact that it's being played in Washington, it's obviously an uphill battle for Portland, albeit they are capable considering their experience. With that said, however, it won't be easy, as MJ and Hakeem would show off once again why they're a prolific 1-2 punch, and entering the final 2 minutes of the game, they'd be up by 3 points. Holding on, albeit barely, to a small lead, looking to deliver the knockout blow, and officially end the Blazers' Big Three for good. NBA Finals Game 7. 2 minutes left. Drexler on the ISO, guarded by Jordan. 2 spin moves blocked by Hakeem. Hakeem with his multiple Defensive Player of the Years. And Washington's going the other way. Good transition defense by Portland. They find Jordan. He's going to go up with a one-handed shot and extends the lead to 5 with 1:46 remaining. Here comes Thomas, the man who broke the NBA by forming, completing the Big Three. Gets the screen from Daugherty. He's going to pull up from 3 off the screen. Misses it. Rebounded by Williams. Washington with a chance to really pull away here. Here comes Jordan. Pick and roll with Hakeem. He throws it down. A bad pass right into Barkley's hands. He's going to push it on the break. Behind the back. Has Jordan on the switch. Feeds Thomas. Looks like he's going to post up on the right side. No, Isaiah Thomas, he's going to go aggressively into another ISO. Kicks it out to Turner, over to Drexler. Slows it down. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Gonna have to take a tough shot here, a fadeaway 3. 2 bad offensive possessions in a row by Portland. And here comes Jordan on the attack. His layup is no good. Batted around, rebounded by Portland. Here comes Thomas yet again. Another ISO, doing a lot of dribbling. Spin move, Euro step. Scared of Hakeem, he kicks it out to the wide open shooter. And it's a 2-point game with 34 seconds left. Some ugly offense down the stretch. But game 7 could go either way. The pass over to Jordan. Slows it down. Top of the key. Hesitation. Kicks it out. The pass over to Anderson. Back over to Jaren Jackson Sr. The pass over to Jordan. Driving left. Step back. 14-footer is in. A clutch shot from Michael Jordan. Out of the timeout. 12.9 seconds left for Portland. That's a good look. Drexler cuts it down to 1. 10.4 seconds left. Barely any time came off the clock. And the pass into Kenny Anderson for the free throws. I checked the stats. He's about a 77% free throw shooter on the season. Misses the first. A huge missed free throw. Can only make it a 2-point game. 9.7 seconds left. Second free throw rolls off the rim. Portland with a chance to win it here with a 2 or a 3. It doesn't matter. 4 seconds left. Drexler to Thomas. Back out to Barkley for the win. It's off. And the Washington Wizards have taken down this behemoth of a big 3. In year number 1 of their partnership, MJ and Hakeem have gotten the Bullets over the hump in incredible fashion by defeating an incredible opponent that gave him some problems just a few years ago. Jordan would secure another Finals MVP, and for Barkley, the shot that he missed by inches will have him having nightmares for years to come. But before we move on to the next season, we have to move on to a different team, the Chicago Bulls, who have consistently been one of the worst franchises over the past decade. But with their drafting of Kevin Garnett with the first pick in the 1995 draft, as well as their free agent signing of Patrick Ewing a mere days later, the Bulls would undergo a drastic transformation in a short amount of time, going from one of the league's worst teams last year to the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, pulling off a 2 seed versus 1 seed upset in the Eastern Conference Finals over the defending champion Washington Bullets. But just as Chicago would celebrate their overnight turnaround from one of the league's worst teams to best, the Blazers would be back at the mountaintop. And just when you thought they were done, they would be winning their 5th title of the past 8 years, having a major bounce back from their Game 7 loss. Barkley can now sleep easy, and for the Bulls, it's now a question if they can not only get back to the finals, but also get over the hump, especially considering the 1996 draft would add a ridiculous amount of talent into the league all at once.
With the first pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Vancouver Grizzlies select Allen Iverson from Georgetown University. With the second pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
And in what's the most blasphemous, jarring, and completely weird-looking turn of events ever, Kobe Bryant is now a Celtic. Strangest aside, he'll lead the next chapter for them once Larry Bird is done playing, given the fact that he's 40 years old and won't be long, and it'll be interesting to see who gets paired up with Kobe moving forward. With that said, he has a long way to go before he reaches the level of his idol Michael Jordan, who would be winning his 5th MVP at the age of 34. But this would come as a double-edged sword. His stats would go up, but the wins would go down without Hakeem Olajuwon, who left the team in favor of the Spurs in the previous offseason. That would be the main reason why we'd have the same finals matchup as last year. It's no surprise Portland is here, and Washington's fall-off made it easier for Chicago to return. But the twist here is that while it's the same matchup, it wouldn't be the same result at all. Kevin Garnett would crack the Blazers' game plan in his second attempt, averaging 30 points and 11 rebounds on his way to a 6-game series win, bringing he, Patrick Ewing, and the city of Chicago all their first championships. Very quickly, the NBA's new era would officially be here. Shortly after Garnett's first championship, we'd have to move on to the 1997 draft. The Toronto Raptors would select surefire legend Tim Duncan #1 overall. He would win the Rookie of the Year in the 1997-98 season. But even more interesting, with the second pick, again, the Boston Celtics would use it on
Tracy McGrady from Mount Zion Christian Academy.
And officially, Kobe has his running mate for the next decade, and Boston surely, in just a few years' time, will have maybe the best scoring 1-2 punch the league's ever seen. But before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Dude Wipes. Because wiping isn't just about what you see, just like a good defense, it's also about shutting down what you don't want to smell. And that's where Dude Wipes Odor Destroyer comes in. These things don't just leave you clean, but they eliminate odor with odor-destroying tech that controls smell for up to 24 hours. These wipes are also way larger than other brands, so you're definitely getting a good value. Dude Wipes are also made with plastic-free, plant-sourced fibers, so they're fully flushable. Don't just wipe, play champion-level defense. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video, and shop Dude Wipes at retailers nationwide. And now, back to the 1998 season, where Kobe and T-Mac could be running the league in just a few years' time. But what would really signal the NBA's transition right now would be the finals, as neither MJ or Barkley would make an appearance for the first time in a decade. Instead, it would be between Scottie Pippen's New York Knicks and Allen Iverson's Vancouver Grizzlies. A matchup that would see Scottie rise up on top, using his prior experience to win his second championship in his 3 appearances. And to keep up with the theme of new champions, the 1999 season would have Shaq and Miami win the title over Chris Webber's Utah Jazz, ironically done with the help of Karl Malone, who was signed in free agency a couple years ago. So with the 90s decade officially over, where does this leave the stars of the past? To be specific to Jordan, in the background he left Washington to go to Orlando. It hasn't led to a title, but he'd break the all-time scoring record in that uni. And with a few more years left in the tank, he'll definitely cross 40,000 points. Something LeBron will be chasing when he's drafted into the league in a few years' time. And as far as Charles Barkley goes, he's still averaging a 20-point double-double incredibly in his late 30s. But his title window is closed as he's the only of Portland's big 3 left in the league, as Thomas and Drexler have retired. Not only are he and Jordan on the 90s all-decade team, but these two are faces on it, and the most likely candidates to be called the greatest of all time to this point. But with them being so legendary, that also means that people will try to surpass them in the future. And in order to do so, championships have to be won. To start off the new decade, the 2000 finals would be won by Chris Webber's Jazz. And this one would come at the expense of another new face, Jason Kidd of the Detroit Pistons. In 2001, Kevin Garnett would win his first MVP and DPOY, becoming only the second player after Michael Jordan to achieve both in the same year. However, that June, it would be the Indiana Pacers instead winning the championship, with Penny Hardaway making a surprise run to claim Finals MVP. Then, in 2002, Tim Duncan would put up an incredible 30 points per game, earning both MVP and DPOY honors for himself out in Toronto. And as a whole, Canada would have a huge year, as the Vancouver Grizzlies, led by Allen Iverson, would defeat KG's Bulls in 6 games to win that year's title. Followed up by 2003, where he wouldn't be done. He would claim his first regular season MVP and battle through a tough 7-game finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers to secure back-to-back championships. When it comes to the early 2000s, it's clear Iverson's currently the league's face. However, in the meantime, the two that ran the 90s, MJ and Barkley, are officially done, retiring as of a couple years ago. MJ has a perfect 3-0 finals record, the MVP record, and is by far the #1 scorer ever, while Barkley has 5 rings in his 8 appearances and is second all-time in MVPs. However, when one door would close, another would open just as fast.
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select LeBron James.
And tonight, you can cut the anticipation with a knife in probably the most anticipated debut of any first-year athlete in any sport. LeBron James will put it on the floor for the first time in a regular season game tonight. Welcome, everybody.
And LeBron James would kick off the 2003-04 season by winning the Rookie of the Year, averaging tremendous stats from day number 1. However, not only is he going to have to deal with a tremendous amount of hype and a media storm, he's now tasked with trying to fix a Minnesota Timberwolves franchise that has done nothing in their 10 years of existence. However, on the bright side, he's not completely alone. A couple years ago in the 2001 draft, the Timberwolves selected Tony Parker, who will now be his running mate. But it's still not going to be easy. If we look at just LeBron's draft class, even more talent would be entering the league, such as Carmelo Anthony, who's going number 2 to the Lakers, and Dwayne Wade, who's going number 3 to the Suns. And that's before we even mention the established stars in the league right now. Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Yao Ming, Vince Carter, Gilbert Arenas, Shaquille O'Neal. The NBA is stacked, and we didn't even mention the stars playing in this year's finals. Between the back-to-back champion, now Memphis Grizzlies, and the Boston Celtics, making their first appearance since the 80s. The main draw for this matchup would obviously be Iverson versus Kobe. But even though Iverson would have an MVP and 2 championships under his belt, Kobe would compete and more than hold his own. What would really decide the first couple games would be the sidekicks. Tracy McGrady would average 23 points per game to Rasheed Wallace's 17, and that would be a huge catalyst in the Celtics taking 2 games on the road, starting off the series 2-0. However, you don't become a 2-time champion without winning some road games, and in what may be the best game of his career, Iverson would finish with 43 points and 6 assists, cutting Memphis's deficit down to just 2-1. But just as quickly as it would appear to look better for Memphis, it would quickly take a turn for the worse. Game number 4 would be complete domination from both of the Celtics stars, putting them up 3-1. By the time Game 5 would roll around, there would be no need for them to go back to Boston. Kobe and T-Mac would be winning the championship back in Memphis, celebrating on Iverson's home floor. In a flash, all of the momentum he previously had is now gone, and amidst the turmoil, Iverson would now look for a fresh start. In the 2005 season, he would be signing on with a new team, the Sacramento Kings, forming a deadly scoring backcourt with Gilbert Arenas. But that effectively means that Kobe and T-Mac just dismantled a potential dynasty out in Memphis. Kobe would win his second MVP this season, and there would be nothing stopping Boston from going back to the finals. It's just a matter of finding out their opponent. But when we'd get to the Western Conference Finals, we'd have our answer, either the Minnesota Timberwolves led by LeBron or the Lakers led by Carmelo Anthony, who are in the middle of a Cinderella run as the number 8 seed. However, even though Minnesota would finish in third, we would have a very competitive series, starting with LeBron leading the Timberwolves to a Game 1 win, and Melo immediately following it up with a Game 2 win, stealing one on the road. And that would be huge heading back to Los Angeles, as he would keep up his incredible scoring. 25 points and a win in Game 3, followed up by 31 points, including 6 3-pointers in Game number 4, putting the Lakers up 3-1. This, of course, puts the Timberwolves in a very tough situation. Game number 5 would be a win back at home, but with no more room for error left, the damage has been done. Melo and the Lakers would close it out in Game 6, moving on to the finals, while LeBron would have to live with the weight of losing to a number 8 seed. And thus, the 05 finals would be underway. Very quickly, Carmelo Anthony would continue to prove that he's a force to be reckoned with. Even with Kobe and T-Mac on the floor, and only being in year number 2, he would lead all scorers in points throughout this entire series, individually not stopping by any means after his win against LeBron. However, those points would all he'd get out of this matchup. Kobe and T-Mac would pick up where they left off from last year, and 4 quick games later, the Celtics would go back-to-back. Kobe wins Finals MVP 2, and Melo's fantastic Cinderella run, while impressive, has now been rendered incomplete, and he'll have to prove that it wasn't a fluke. That now kicks off the 2006 season with Boston having all the momentum in the world. For the regular season, LeBron would win the MVP battle over Kobe, averaging 37-9 for his first of such award. But in terms of the championship war, the Celtics would complete the three-peat, finishing off another member of the 2003 draft class, Dwayne Wade, who led his 3-seeded Suns to the finals in his 3rd season. Nonetheless, it wouldn't be enough to defeat the Celtics, who are surging with this three-peat, looking for 4 in the 2007 season. And this year's finals would once again include the Celtics duo, as well as a member from the 2003 draft. Number 1 pick, LeBron James, who's now staring down a challenge that few, if any, can overcome. But not only would James be up for said challenge, with the odds stacked against him, he would thrive. His efforts would be the main reason why the Wolves would blow out the Celtics in the first 2 games. And perhaps the scariest part is the fact that he's not alone. With the help of Tony Parker, the Wolves would rattle off a 3rd straight win, blowing open what at first appeared to be a relatively close matchup that should have been an intense back-and-forth battle. Boston would make their best attempt at a comeback, but after 6 games, Minnesota would be winning their first championship ever. There's no reason to say that Kobe and T-Mac are officially done winning titles for good, but it's clear there's been a power balance in the NBA. One that would get even more complicated with the results of this year's draft.
With the first pick in the 2007 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Bobcats select Kevin Durant from the University of Texas.
And as such, the Bobcats would have a franchise centerpiece to build around, one who'd actually win Rookie of the Year honors. Kevin Durant could be an important character in the ever-growing story of the NBA, but that's going to take some time considering this year's finals would feature 2 completely different faces. Representing the Denver Nuggets, Dirk Nowitzki, who averaged 29 and 9 on the season, and representing the New York Knicks, free agent signing Vince Carter, 2 members of the same draft class where the latter would win 4-1. After going from Pippen in the 90s to now Vince in the 2000s, very quietly the Knicks have been one of the NBA's best ran franchises. With that said, there would be nothing quiet about the 2008-09 season, which would kick off with a bang. With the first pick in the most recent draft, Derrick Rose would go number 1 to the Clippers. Similar to many franchises in this universe, they've been overshadowed by dynasty after dynasty. A great example of such would be the Boston Celtics, who would win their 4th championship in the past 6 years, defeating the same team that gave them their 2nd, the Phoenix Suns, for the 2nd time. D-Wade has been a victim to Kobe and T-Mac's dominance, but how long can they keep this up? It definitely won't be easy, considering...
With the first pick in the 2009 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select James Harden of Arizona State University.
And he'd have the honor of going number 1 in a stacked draft class, one that not only includes him, but also franchise-changing talents like Steph Curry, who's been drafted to the Spurs, as well as Blake Griffin, who'd win Rookie of the Year out in Miami. But none of these guys would hold the candle to one player who would stand above all, dominating every storyline for this season. And that would be Dwight Howard, who won his 4th DPOY award, as well as his first MVP award, putting up one of the best stat lines ever. After being drafted to the Sonics in 2004, he's quietly built himself up to be an all-time great. And he'd had the chance to further prove himself in the finals where, as the only all-star on the team, he'd be up against the Charlotte Bobcats who have 2, Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge. However, as the Thunder's only all-star, Dwight would carry on both ends. And if a 6-game series could ever be described as easy, this would be it. The Thunder would finish their magical season winning their first championship since the franchise was in Seattle. The torch has been successfully passed, and KD plus Aldridge would now be searching for answers. But with that said, the 2000s decade has officially concluded. There were many outstanding names who dominated the past 10 years, but starting off in 2010-11, the next 10 will look very different. Perhaps the Spurs will have their hands on the decade after being dormant for decades. Not only did they draft Curry last year, but in the 2010 draft they snagged Paul George. Easily the most interesting move from that draft. There's no guarantees though. Nobody really knows for sure. In the background, a ton of stars have been drafted to new teams, and that'll continue as we keep going on to the modern day. But with that said though, Dwight Howard would win another MVP going back-to-back, although this time he'd lose out on the DPOY to Tim Duncan, who stayed with Toronto his whole career to his detriment, as he's in serious danger of retiring ringless. And that's a good segue into this year's finals between LeBron's Minnesota Timberwolves and the Bobcats again, with Durant doing everything in his power to not be like Tim Duncan, and James looking for ring number 2. This series would get off to a fast start from the Slim Reaper though, winning the first game learning from last year's loss. However, that would not last very long. James and Tony Parker would flip the series on its head, winning 3 of the next 4, making it a 3-2 series. Game 6 would be another Charlotte win, forcing a Game 7. By then, the more experienced Timberwolves duo would pull through, and for a second straight year, Durant would be left to deal with the pain of a finals loss, while LeBron and TP would celebrate their 2nd ring in as many tries. They've started off the decade with a bang, and the 2011-12 season would be an opportunity for other teams to load up to challenge these surging Wolves. Perhaps the Bulls, with Kyrie Irving, the Rookie of the Year, can come back to glory. He'll be mentored by Kevin Garnett, who was the one who dismantled Portland's 90s dynasty, so the torch has been officially passed there. Allen Iverson's signing with the Sacramento Kings a couple years ago did not work out. They rebounded extremely well by drafting Kawhi Leonard. And after winning championships in the 90s and 2000s, the Knicks would get a great building block for the 2010s in Klay Thompson. All potential contenders, but not yet ready to compete with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Boston Celtics, who meet in the finals for a second time. However, this instance is much different considering the age of these players, with Kobe and T-Mac comfortably in their 30s, Tony Parker in his late 20s, and LeBron in his mid-20s. All of this to say is that the Timberwolves should have the advantage here, but in reality, like the first matchup, it wouldn't be close, and unlike the first matchup, it would be the reverse outcome, with the Celtics dominating start to finish, winning the series 4-1. It's perhaps Kobe's most impressive achievement yet, considering that T-Mac's decline has led him to be only an 18-point-per-game scorer. Kobe would average 31 on his way to his 5th Finals MVP and championship, a level of dominance not seen since Portland's Big Three, and the Celtics are just a duo who have handed LeBron his first finals out. It's back to the drawing board for King James starting in 2013. But to keep it brief, let's go right on to the finals for this year. Both D-Wade's Suns and KD's Bobcats would make it to the finals for their 3rd times. Wade's lost twice to the Celtics, and KD's lost to Minnesota plus OKC. One of these two is going to break their curse and get the championship that's eluded them for years. That would be the Suns. Dwayne Wade would lead them to a 5-game victory in what was a fairly uncompetitive championship series. And for the 3rd time, KD has not been able to get over the hump. What's happening to his story could only be described as a tragedy, one that would have even more implications in the 2014 finals, where the Bobcats would make it to the finals again. Now facing the San Antonio Spurs with Steph Curry and Paul George, not to mention the fact they have Brook Lopez as their center and Mike Conley of all people as the backup to Steph Curry off the bench. All of this to say is that with just KD and Aldridge, they'd have no answer for this stacked team. After 7 games, the Bobcats would be taking their 4th finals loss in the past 5 seasons, easily the most tragic run in NBA history. It's been an absolutely ridiculous turn of events for Durant, and you have to wonder if he's going to retire ringless similarly to 2 other legends who called it quits after this season. Individually, Tim Duncan had a stellar career but didn't sniff a championship, while Steve Nash obliterated the 3-point record and is one of the best assist men ever, but never even made it to a conference finals. But while these two are a cautionary tale for Durant, to his credit, he'd still dismantle the East on his way to finals number 5 in the past 6 years, now versus the Sacramento Kings. A team that has quietly been brewing in the background thanks to a rebuild that started with Kawhi Leonard in 2011 and Damian Lillard in 2012. However, there's a reason as to why Durant has made so many finals, thanks to career averages of 30 points and 9 rebounds. With numbers like these, if he keeps making the finals, he has to eventually win once, right? The answer wouldn't be so simple, as this series would not only go to Game 7, but be an all-time classic coming down to the final couple minutes. If Durant is finally going to win a championship on his 5th attempt, he's going to have to really earn it up against this stacked duo in hostile territory, with the odds completely stacked against him. Going to the left, 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Lillard all the way to the basket, detonates on Durant. Ties up the game with a bang. Durant trying to answer, goes all the way into the paint, tough shot. Gives Charlotte a 2-point lead once again. A little over 90 seconds left in the 2015 season. Pass over to Evan Turner. Turner going right at Felton, size advantage. His floater's good. The 6'6 Turner with a layup over the 6'2 Felton, and we're all tied up. Here comes Durant, still with Leonard on him. Gets the step into the paint, misses the layup. Sacramento going on the other end. Leonard with a bunch of dribbling. The pass down to Young. Young in the paint, guarded by DeAndre Jordan. He kicks it out. It's a 3-second call, a crucial turnover. Durant with a chance to give his team the lead after multiple finals losses over and over and over. He's gonna take a 3. Misses that one, 2 straight misses. Here comes Thaddeus Young with the pass over to Lillard. Lillard with the pass over to Kawhi. Kawhi, his pass is tipped. Tried to lob it down to Young. Josh Smith going coast to coast. Danny Green misses the point-blank layup. All of a sudden, a lid on the basket. Here comes Turner with 30 seconds left. The pass over to Thaddeus Young. He's going to try to bully Kevin Durant in the paint. His left-handed layup, his strong hand. Another miss at the basket. Durant has the switch, has Lillard on him. 18 seconds left. 4-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. 8 seconds left. Gonna have to make a move here. Here comes Jordan with the screen. Durant for the win. gets the friendly bounce. And Charlotte is up by 3 with 3 seconds exactly on the clock. Out of the timeout, who's going to take it? Will it be Dame? Will it be Kawhi? It looks like it's going to be Dame going to the corner, 2 pump fakes, gets Danny Green in the air, and we're going to overtime. Durant's heroics have been completely spoiled by Lillard, and these two powerhouses would be going at each other for another 5 minutes. However, 3 minutes into those 5, Charlotte would only be holding on to a 3-point lead, setting the finals up for another exciting finish. Charlotte with a chance to extend the lead, make it a 2-possession game. Here comes Durant. He goes all the way to the left side by himself. Right-handed layup over Evan Turner. It's good. He's hype. The door's still wide open for Sacramento. Here comes Lillard again. Lillard off multiple screens, wide open, cuts it down to just 2. Less than 1 minute left. Durant drives into a crowd, has to kick it over to Josh Smith. Josh Smith, who has multiple Defensive Player of the Years in this universe, drives all the way into the paint, dribbles it off his foot. The pass over to Evan Turner on the break. Good defense, good transition offense, good transition defense. Forgot how to speak English there. Thaddeus Young misses the layup. A lot of missed layups down the stretch. 33 seconds left. Durant, catch and shoot at the elbow. It's a 4-point game once again. 30 seconds left. Sacramento blew through 2 timeouts here. Classic 2K playbook. They throw it into Lillard. Going to his left. Playing with some urgency. Layup is up. It's rebounded by Josh Smith. The Kings gonna have to foul once again, and it's going to Durant. After 4 losses in the past 5 finals, it looks like Kevin Durant's gonna win his first championship. His first free throw is good, and the second free throw will also drop. Makes it a 6-point game with 23 seconds left. Perhaps an insurmountable task for the Kings. Lillard's going for the 2-pointer, not really the best option there. They pass it into Danny Green. His first free throw is going to rattle in. His second is going to hit the left side of the rim. Sacramento going the length of the floor. Thaddeus Young jogging up the court. He passed it over to Leonard, his first shot in a while, and it's a 2-point game. Charlotte's still very much in the driver's seat with some theatrics down the stretch. They pass it into Felton, going to the line for 2 to make it a 4-point game. 80% free throw shooter. First one, nothing but net. And the second, which will almost certainly cement this championship for Durant, is going to rattle in and out. 6 seconds left. Thaddeus Young with the outlet. Lillard to Turner for 3. Unbelievable. A ridiculous collapse. They were up by 6. Double overtime. Perhaps a nightmare scenario for the Hornets, as the championship was basically already won. But because of their missteps at the free throw line, that would give Sacramento a chance to win this one at the very end of double overtime. A terrifying situation considering who would be getting the ball. They pass it into Dame. Top of the key. 14 seconds left. Perkins on his left, Thaddeus Young on his right. Evan Turner going over to the left. 5 seconds left. Lillard for the win. No good. Rebounded by Jordan. A full court heave. Almost hit it. And we're going to a triple overtime. What is happening? And this ridiculous triple overtime wouldn't be very different from the 2 preceding it, as well as the end of regulation. There would be another stalemate entering the final minute, with Sacramento only up by 1. And here comes Lillard once again. Into the paint. Another tough shot. Fantastic contest by DeAndre Jordan. Front line for Charlotte, playing good defense in triple overtime. Half spin, Durant into the paint. Fancy finish. Reclaims the lead. Back and forth. 1 minute left. Lillard, hounded by Green, into the paint. Blocked. Nobody stopping Josh Smith. All the way, he's going to take the layup. Probably no more stamina left for a dunk. And Charlotte in fantastic position once again. Can they close it out? Lillard going to his left, into a crowd. Floater is good. It's a 1-point game. 33 seconds left. Raymond Felton, number 9, bringing up the ball. Kevin Durant in the left corner. They call a timeout. Nobody ever in the history of the universe has gotten more value for their money than Sacramento's fans. Game 7 has gone down to a triple overtime. Durant, guarded by Leonard, going to his left. Step back. His signature shot, the mid-range, is going to roll off the basket. Sacramento with a chance to take the lead. Who's going to be the hero? Who's going to step up? The pass into Lillard. Evan Turner going to the left side. They're running that pick and roll again with Young. Fadeaway. three. Rebounded by Jordan. And it's going to send Danny Green to the line again. He redeemed himself from earlier. First free throw is good. And the second, which could seal the championship for good, will try. Charlotte is stop away. 7 seconds left. Lillard over to Young, over to Turner. Again. An unlikely hero has emerged in Game 7, one that only shot 33% from 3 on the year. But with a fourth overtime now on deck, are we going to finally crown a champion? The greatest basketball game that's ever been played would unsurprisingly be close with 2 minutes on the clock. Outlet pass, Felton, off to the races. Tough layup in the paint, barely rolls off the rim. Would have cut it down to a 1-point game. Instead, Sacramento up by 3 with a chance to extend the lead on the other end. Kawhi Leonard going to the left side. The pass over to Perkins. Lillard trying to get over. Lillard gets it on the right side. Screen by Perkins. Pull up 3 by Lillard. Gets the friendly bounce. And here comes Durant. Pounded by Leonard. Into a crowd. Between the legs. Fantastic defense. A lot of dribbling. Sacramento going crazy. 90 seconds left. He goes out of bounds. 6-point lead for Sacramento. Lillard brings it up. Chance to extend the lead. Blow it wide open. Good defense by Green. Blocked by Jordan. Still some life for Charlotte. Anything can happen. Gonna have to play with some urgency. Josh Smith with the mismatch, trying to get past Lillard. Pass it over to Durant. Durant, good defense once again by Leonard. Over to Danny Green. He's gonna drive in. Bumps and makes the layup. Game 7, 2015 finals going down to the wire. Are we going to see a 5th overtime? Lillard trying to end it right here. Another block. He has taken so many shots down the stretch. The pass over to Young. Lillard with the screen again. 5 seconds. Fouled by Green. The 2K AI, really no reason to foul there. Kind of did Charlotte dirty there. Durant goes for the steal off the inbound. It results in 2 points for Sacramento. Durant's going the other way. It's all unraveling for the Hornets. Into the paint. He's stripped by Perkins. Charlotte melting down. Perkins' first free throw is going to roll in. And Big Perk ices it. Driving in. Out of the timeout. Durant, he misses the dunk. Charlotte's not even going to foul. They've accepted defeat for the 5th time in 6 seasons. Dame with the cherry on top. 161 points. Quadruple overtime. Game 7. And the Sacramento Kings are going to win the 2015 championship. An unbelievable turn of events for Durant. Now sporting a 0-5 finals record, all of which came in the past 6 years. Unbelievably, 61 points in a Game 7 was not enough to walk away with a win. His legacy is definitely very complicated and completely up for debate, but one thing's for sure, Sacramento would be enjoying this well-deserved championship. Lillard had 57 points, 53 minutes, Kawhi played 61, had 38. Officially, half the 2010s are done, and the 2016 season would now kick off. But while a lot has changed compared to real life, some things would stay relatively similar, such as the triple-double antics of Russell Westbrook, who would win his first MVP 1 season earlier than real life. However, he'll likely be leaving the Cavs in the offseason as they're not championship contenders and his contract is up. Instead, we would see a very monochrome finals as the Brooklyn Nets would make their first appearance against the San Antonio Spurs, who won it all in 2014. But what they lack in experience, the Nets would make up for with fantastic team building, the dominance of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the team chemistry boost of one of the NBA's best storytellers.
He too physically dominant, bro. He like Shaq, bro. He's gonna go. You better. Boom, boom, boom. Me and Giannis combined for 50 that night.
And of those 52 points to be exact, Giannis would close out the finals with 39, while Teague would have a very important 13. But the point stands, the Nets would sweep the Spurs to win a title. A massive upset in not only matchup, but how quick the series went by. And with a decade of prime years ahead of him, the Freak is off to a scorching start.
Welcoming Tracy to the Hall of Fame is Isaiah Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, Tracy McGrady.
But with the emergence of one star, another would call it a career. After 5 championships and a top 10 finish in the scoring leaderboard, Tracy McGrady would not only retire as one of the best scorers ever, but also one half to the Celtics dynasty, which now just leaves Kobe Bryant. And he would be following suit, as the 2017 season would be his last. where by the end of the year, his resume would be ridiculous. Multiple MVPs, second all-time in scoring, 5 championships, 5 finals MVPs. There's even more to be mentioned, but clearly he is one of, if not the greatest of all time at this point. But with his retirement, there's now a massive opportunity for other stars, especially shooting guards, to go out and make their own legendary legacies. For the 2017 finals, after a close 7-game series, James Harden won his first ring over Charles Barkley's successor, Anthony Davis, bringing a new face and franchise into the championship limelight. However, in 2018, it would go right back to somebody who'd be winning his third, and that would be LeBron James, who, even without Tony Parker, who's been replaced with Eric Bledsoe, he would be winning the 2018 championship over Giannis. James would also pair this ring with his 5th regular season MVP. Then, in the 2019 season, we would see the #1 pick in the 2018 draft, Luka Doncic, make his debut for the Toronto Raptors. He wouldn't be the only MVP quality player from that draft though. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be suiting up for the Denver Nuggets, putting these two future legends in opposite conferences. And as far as the 2019 finals would go, the Spurs would be winning over the Detroit Pistons, with Steph and Paul George winning their 2nd title as a duo. Unfortunately, this would be coming at the expense of Chris Paul, who after being drafted by the team in 2005 is still yet to win one. And thus, the 2010s came to a close, a decade so full of talent that assembling an all-decade team was no easy task. It was an era packed with unforgettable moments, and it's setting the stage for the 2020s to begin with a bang. 2 brand new faces would meet up in the bubble for the championship. Representing the Bulls would be Kyrie Irving, who was drafted in 2012, Kristaps Porzingis, drafted in 2015, and Brandon Ingram from 2016. And they'd be facing a formidable Dallas Mavs team, with their recently signed multiple-time MVP Russell Westbrook paired with another recent signee, Zach LaVine. This series would go the distance, but in Game 7, Kyrie would lead his Bulls to a title, giving him an extremely prestigious Finals MVP.
3 full years of Kevin Durant, remarkable turnaround from where this organization was just a few years ago.
And just a few years ago for the Pistons, they had lost to the San Antonio Spurs in the finals. You gotta think with KD now paired up with Chris Paul, everything should work itself out. Despite the fact that the two combined for 6 finals losses, with 5 coming on KD's end. At the very least, they can sleep easy knowing that that number won't be going up. Instead, they would be losing in the conference finals to the Toronto Raptors, with Luka capping off his first MVP regular season with a trip to the finals. And their opponent would be the Denver Nuggets. Of course, there's the point guard battle between Shai and Luka looming. But overall, this finals would be more than just a one-on-one. Jimmy Butler, who signed with the team a couple years ago, would steal the show for Denver, giving him the Finals MVP, which would be very interesting. The Nuggets just won a championship without Shai truly starting to peak. Once he gets to an MVP level, is anyone going to stop Denver? One person who might have been able to back in the day might be LeBron James, although the 2022 season and beyond would be less about winning championships and more about breaking the all-time scoring record. Keep in mind, injuries are off, so everyone plays 82 games a year, but nonetheless, he's one of just 2 people to score 40,000 points. His storied career is soon to come to an end, and soon the NBA will fully be in the hands of its young stars, one of which being Luka Doncic, who would win his 2nd MVP of this season, averaging 37, 10, and 8, and faced with the Denver Nuggets for a 2nd time, he would fare much better than his first attempt. He and Karl Anthony Towns would be able to topple the defending champs. And round 2 of this Toronto-Denver rivalry would be going to the Raptors. But it's for that exact reason that the 2023 finals would be an epic conclusion worthy of such a polarizing point guard rivalry. For the 3rd time in a row, the Nuggets and Raptors would face off for the championship, and for the first time, it would go to a Game 7. For the most part, each team's roster is generally the same as their first matchup, with some additions around the margins. But aside from Shai and Luka, everyone else would pretty much be an afterthought. It would be the closest thing to a one-on-one between these two 30-plus point per game scorers. And thus, with 2 minutes left, the score would be tied, with Luka Doncic at the line. It's an opportunity for him to go back-to-back, while SGA is trying to defeat his hometown team and win his 2nd title. 97-97, 2:34 left. First free throw is gonna rattle in and out, and the 2nd one will drop. So he only puts the Raptors up by 1. Could go either way. Gilgeous-Alexander guarded by Kevin Porter Jr. over to Sabonis. Looks like they're running a play for Shai to get it on the left side. He catches it in the paint, misses the layup, gets the offensive rebound, kicks it out immediately. The pass back to Sabonis. Sabonis is going to try a three. Would have given Denver a 2-point lead. Instead, it's going the other way. Kevin Porter Jr. with the pass over to Luka. Karl Anthony Towns going to set the screen. He rejects it. Goes all the way right into Sabonis' chest. Left-handed layup puts Toronto up by 3. Game 7. Scotiabank Arena going crazy. Gilgeous-Alexander with the pass back to Sabonis. Over to Butler. Finals MVP from 2 years ago. About to get the screen from Capella. Hard drive into his left. Good help defense by Porter Jr. They're running a play for Sexton to get it on the left wing. He's wide open with barely any time left on the shot clock. Ties it up. Just above 90 seconds left in the 2023 season. Luka's going to go all the way. Right past Butler. And once again, Toronto is up, this time by 2. Gilgeous-Alexander with the spin move. Right into 2 defenders. Tough layup. Rebounded by Porter. And he's going to push. Over to Luka. Could have taken the 3 there. Instead tries to drive. A lot of contact. No foul. Luka Doncic tried to draw a foul. Instead it's going the other way. Jimmy Butler on the fast break. His spin move to his left ties it up once again. Both teams attacking the basket. The refs letting them play. And here comes Luka once again. No screen. Right at Butler. Misses the left-handed shot. And here comes Denver in transition once again. Butler attacking the basket down to Capella. Good defense blocked by Kevin Porter Jr. The size disadvantage stops the 7-foot Capella. Some crazy defense down the stretch. And Hartenstein throws it away. Gilgeous-Alexander, nobody in front of him. Gives Denver a 2-point lead. Chaos and a frenetic pace in Game 7. Pass from Porter over to Doncic. Jimmy Butler on him. 25 seconds left in the game. 15 on the shot clock. He's going to go all the way to the basket. Sabonis with a good contested rebound. And it's going to Shai. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the free throw line. 104-102. First free throw drops. And the second one, which will put Denver up by 4 if he makes it. A 2-possession game will also go down. 18.9 left. Toronto could really use a 3 here. What are they going to shoot out of the timeout? They pass it into Porter, 40 feet away from the basket. He's just standing there, not much time left. The pass over to Doncic, a couple feet behind the line. It's a 1-point game, 11.6. Capella trying to find someone to pass it to. Good inbound defense by the Raptors. Almost throws it away. Colin Sexton barely caught that one with one hand. 80% free throw shooter going to the line for 2. Either way, it's a 1-possession game. The door is wide open for Toronto, and it's even more wide open with that miss. Second free throw, chance of redemption, will drop. 11 seconds left. Toronto's going to go the length of the floor, could win the championship with a 3 in front of their home fans. Luka, snatch back, somebody's wide open. He goes into the paint, gets his own rebound, puts it up and in. 0.6 seconds left. It's a tie game. Luka had Karl Anthony Towns wide open at the 3-point line, but it worked out nonetheless. 0.6. Denver about to take a horrible shot. Almost goes down, and we're going to overtime. And you have to think that this Game 7 has similar shades to the one back in 2015 with the Kings and Hornets. But will 4 overtimes be necessary? After a Shai 3-ball to tie it up, this game could go either way in the final 123 of overtime number 1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just hit a 3 to tie it up. 118-118, a little over a minute left. Luka going all the way and 1. The league MVP coming up huge down the stretch. Can put Toronto up by 3. Can put Toronto up by 3 with the free throw. Foul on Jimmy Butler. Doncic misses it. 1:15 left. Sabonis is going to push. Doing a lot of ball handling. He's going to take it coast to coast to Montes Sabonis. And it's going the other way for Toronto. Questionable decision there. Doncic into the lane. Good defense by Butler once again. Gets the stop he needs at a crucial time. He's going to drive in, throw up a floater, and we're all tied up. A 2-way sequence from Jimmy Butler. Toronto calls timeout, 51.2. Pass it to Luka, still with Jimmy Butler on him. 47 seconds. Has mostly done a good job on him. Instead, gives him the step. Toronto's up by 2 again, out of the timeout. Jimmy Butler alternating between giving up a bucket and getting a stop. Gives Toronto the lead off the Luka layup. The pass over to Shai in the corner. 40 seconds left. Pump fake. Driving baseline. Blocked by Karl Anthony Towns. Huge defensive play. Outlet. Kevin Porter Jr. The pass down to Towns in the lane. A lot of contact. Refs letting him play once again. 28 seconds. Denver down by 2. Sabonis with the pass over to Gilgeous-Alexander. Gets the screen from Capella. driving, gets a step past Luka. A lot of contact again, gets his own rebound, back out to Sabonis. Chaos, 11 seconds left on the shot clock. Jimmy Butler reverse layup ties up the game with 13 seconds. What is going on? Toronto calls their final timeout. Gotta assume that Luka's taking the final shot here. 12 seconds. Jimmy Butler's still on him. Can he get a stop this time? Luka's going all the way into the paint. Gets the friendly roll. Toronto's up by 2. Still plenty of time for Denver, but it's not looking too good. 4.8 seconds left. Who's taking the final shot? Will it be Jimmy? Looks like it's going to be Shea going to his left. 35 feet away from the basket. A prayer for the win. It's good.
Utterly impossible. And it's over.
In the 70-plus years the NBA has existed, nobody has hit a more iconic shot than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to win the most spectacular of Finals MVPs.
My whole life is consistent.
And simultaneously, with history being made by a 25-year-old, a 38-year-old would call it a career. LeBron James would head right to the Hall of Fame as most notably the all-time scoring leader with 3 rings in his 4 finals trips, all of which being with the Timberwolves. It's truly the end of an era for many and the beginning for some. The next few championships will be won by a few different faces. Ant Edwards plus Harden in 2024, as well as Jokic plus Cade in 25 and 26. Over the course of this 40-plus year journey, the league has constantly reinvented itself into something truly different from real life. Every era defined by a new face, a new style, a new story that felt larger than the game itself. But the beauty of the NBA, and sports in general, is that the story is never truly finished. It just keeps moving forward, waiting for the next legend to take the stage.